Morning, guys. I mean, it might not be morning for you. It's morning for me. It's time to wire this van. I'm really excited about this. I have been looking forward to getting into the electrical part of this since we got started, and we're there. We're ready. I'm going to be wiring up the van to run off of a portable battery like this one from Anchor. But I'm going to set the wiring up future-proofed so that when I'm ready to put in a full dedicated off-grid solar system, which I fully intend to in the van, that I'm going to be able to swap this out. Most of this is going to be pretty straightforward, but there's one like really tricky circuit, and that's actually the lighting circuit. I even built myself a little mock-up that I could use to wrap my head around this, and I'm glad that I did, because the very first thing that I did when I wired this up is I fried one of my dimmer switches because I had it reversed. Something went boom out there. So the idea here is that we're going to have a single circuit with two lighting zones in it. I got this sweet little 12-volt power supply that's got an adapter that lets you just have push to connect. Really simple to just wire something up really quickly and test it. This is not a complete mock-up because, like I said, I fried one of my dimmers by wiring it up wrong, so I got a new one in the mail. But what you can see here is I have a single circuit, so it's a single positive and negative, one power lead. But I've got this one is always on as if it's switched on, and then I've got this other dimmer powering this light. And like, I'm kind of an electrical guy. I've never been afraid to do my own electrical, but like this circuit, I couldn't figure it out, and then I had to build this mock-up to get my head around it. But the thing that's like, I think the trickiest to understand is that there is a common ground or a common negative amongst all of this. Everything goes back to the same place, right? So I've got power coming into the switch and power going out of the switch. That's what controls the dimmer. But the negative coming out of the switch and the negative coming out of the light, that all just gets bonded together and goes back to the battery. I've got 200 feet of 14 gauge wire on spools here. 100 feet positive, 100 feet negative. We're gonna find out if it's enough. For most of the DC circuits, I'm running 14 gauge marine grade wire from Anchor. The good stuff. That is overkill for the power that will be drawn through a lot of this. I could probably be running 16 gauge or even 18 gauge for the lighting. But I'm gonna go a little bit overkill on it. It means I'm gonna have less voltage drop and less risk of overheating these wires if I pull too much current through it. It's also gonna give me like the future flexibility to put higher loads off of some of these branch circuits if I want to, because I know that this 14 gauge wire can actually probably handle somewhere between 15 and 20 amps being pulled across it. And I'm gonna be pulling like 5. I also have some 10 gauge wire that's very heavy duty. That's quite a bit more expensive, and I'm gonna be using that for my really high power loads. Again, kind of overkill, but for our refrigerator and our water pump, things that can have like a higher power draw, I'll be pulling the 10 gauge wire, and I've only got 2 very small circuits that applies to. Now use your imagination a bit. There will be a cabinet here, and all of my electrical equipment is going to go in this back corner along this wall, and my batteries are probably going to go somewhere right here in between the wheel well and the face of the cabinet, so it's all accessible from the front. And then I will have a breaker panel and a DC fuse box where everything's fused and all the wires come together somewhere about here on the face of that cabinet. And so I need to get all of my circuits pulled through the ceiling where they're going and through the walls where they're going, and have it all come back to somewhere in this general area with enough slack in the wires to have some wiggle room and options on exactly where everything gets mounted when I get to building the cabinets, because I haven't finished drawing out all the plans for that exactly. And I've also got some of this plastic wire loom for the spots where I'm going behind the wall panels where there are like sharp edges and the wire might be in contact with metal, just for a little bit of extra protection from like abrasion and causing the wires to short out when it's running behind the metal of the van.
I know that there is something I should do to be a healthy human. That's what I wanna do, but I don't think I know how. Can you show me? Can you show me? I promise I'll listen this time. I promise I'll listen.
only 7 more to go.
Me advice, I always resist. 'Cause in the moment it feels like you're squelching my right to do dumb shit if I want.
Now for all of my junctions, I'm using these little T-splice lever style connectors that I got on Amazon. There'll be a link on our website if you want to try these out. They're awesome. You like flip the lever up, you strip the wire back and put it in there, and then you click this down, it locks into place and it clamps it in. It's very tight, and I can do straight junctions or I can do T-junctions, and I'm actually gonna be doing a lot of these T-junctions where basically I have a main line going across and I need to bring power off of it. I'm gonna wire up all my splices right now with these. Some I will come back with butt connectors and heat shrink and make permanent, but for right now I don't really have a reason to have to make permanent lines until I test all my circuits and make sure everything works. We'll figure out if those levers come loose when we go bouncing down mountain roads. This goes to my light circuit. The neutral, or the ground, negative, whatever you want to call it, the negative will terminate here because just for the sake of saving myself wire, I'm going to run a negative wire directly to the lights from the other side of the van.
I guess I'm coming to terms with where I'm at. I really don't want to, but I gotta ask my dad.
Guys, I made the mistake again. Why they made white go to negative in this scenario is just beyond me. But it is. White goes to negative. And then black, positive on my lights. Connect a black wire to a red wire, which just feels wrong. Okay, so now I've got all of the distribution, is what I'm going to call it, those lines pulled through for my lighting circuit overhead. Turn this music off before I get a damn copyright strike. Like, none of those wires are joined up. I just pulled the links, and so now I've got to go make all the junctions in it, and it's very, very confusing at this part. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done, because I'm sure I'm going to get my brain tied in a pretzel as I'm going through it. We're going to be really careful, and then we're going to test it.
We had a long night, but it was alright. I took 2 broken blades into a fist fight. She said, give me a reason.
Oh, that was a ton of work and probably, I don't know, 40 feet of wire, but I've got my circuit all wired up for my overhead lighting, and it is complicated, but I just took my time and I think it's great. I think we're good. I left excess slack for places where I knew I would need to pull my switches into a future cabinet that hasn't been built yet and all that, and I'll trim up the ends to length once we're done.
Oh, you can meet me on the Riviera, a little place where we can live for
Obviously, I'm going to have a ton of play with the final placement of these lights.
a piece of heaven. I said, give me a reason why I should take it or leave it.
All right, the lights are in, guys. Now, the way I'm going to test this is directly off of 12-volt power. I'm not wiring in my fuse panel yet until I've got all the wiring pulled and all the circuits tested. I'm going to use my 12-volt power bank here and this handy little cord I told you about earlier that's just got these spring-loaded push-to-connect connectors on this, and I'm just going to wire that straight into our overhead circuit, and then we're going to see if it works. I think that's good. 3, 2, 1. There's light! It works. Now, for reasons I don't fully understand, nothing blew up, nothing smoking, haven't burned out any dimmers. But this dimmer, when I turn it all the way down, there's still like a phantom amount of power coming to these lights. They're lighting up a little bit, like basically at their lowest brightness, as if they're not switched off at all. I'm not sure what that means or what's causing it. What I do know is if I remove that jumper that's basically acting as a wide open dimmer on that end, is that those lights turn off and these turn off too, and then the dimmer functions perfectly as possible. I don't know, but I'm not going to stress about it too much until I get my other dimmer switch in and wire them both up and see if it's still happening. I might need to bond my negative wires between these two different circuits a little bit differently. And we'll see how it behaves when I get the other dimmer installed. Now while we're at it, I guess I should go ahead and test my fan circuit since that's been installed, but it's never been turned on. That was too much. Turn that bad boy on. I love these fans. They're so awesome. We have two in the RV. Only one with the remote. I definitely wanted the remote on this one. And then it just like does it for you. So dope, guys. Alright, so I have pulled all of the DC wiring for all of my DC circuits except for one. There's one more that is going to power a reading lamp and some USB ports, but it's in this cabinet that hasn't been built yet, and so it's going straight from the batteries to the fuse panel to the cabinet, so I don't really need to pull it anywhere because it's not going to run behind the walls at all. So that's handy. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and pull my AC wires through. The only thing we're gonna have running on AC power are just gonna be outlets, just receptacles. There's no HVAC. We're gonna have a DC powered fridge. There's not gonna be an AC option on that fridge. This will be really easy. I've only got two circuits for the AC side. I've got receptacles down the driver's side and receptacles down the passenger side. Okay, so all of the wiring is now pulled through the van. We haven't wired up all of the things, but the lights are wired up and then all the cabling is pulled, and so it's ready for me to, I think, put the walls up, close it all in. Isn't that crazy? Now, Paige and I have set a very aggressive goal for ourselves to take this thing camping and make a video for you guys about it. It's very aggressive considering the state of things. But I think we can pull it off. But as much as I want to stay here tonight and keep going, I need a few more parts. They're supposed to be delivered tomorrow, and I actually blew out a flip-flop and have just spent the last half an hour over-engineering a solution for that with blue masking tape, and so I don't think I'm making really effective use of my time in the shop tonight. So I'm gonna go home and go to bed. And we're gonna come back tomorrow and see if we can get this thing road ready. Today we've got some pretty serious wiring cleanup, but before we get started on all that, I've got another project I need to knock out this morning. A friend of ours is going to borrow our utility trailer, and it's got a broken latch on the tailgate. Finally have an excuse to bust out the welder that Paige got me for Christmas that I haven't needed on the van project yet and practice doing some welds. You're about to witness Casey's first welds. fire through the mask. That wasn't too bad. It took me a minute to get my current dialed in. So it popped and got slag a bunch. It's very ugly. I'm not gonna show you what it looks like, but I just beat it with a mallet. It's totally solid. It should be great. I fixed my trailer. I did take a second to go get some scrap pieces that Paige got me with the welder for Christmas. So you can see, I will show you some welds. These are Casey welds. These are my second welds. You can see all the pops and stuff on it. That's from when I had the current not dialed in. Once I got it right, it was pretty smooth. Like, I'm not terribly disappointed in that. Okay, back to electrical.
Casey's having me help. Hi everyone. I'm just being a whiny poo-poo head is what I'm doing.
Paige is having a day. This is extra kill mat that we use to sound deaden our wheel wells.
It's very sticky.
It's very, very tacky, and it's gonna work way better than the masking tape I put up to hold these wires in place above the ceiling. So Paige is reworking my wiring job, centering these lights up, getting it all tidy so we can be ready to put the panels up. Have a real ceiling. So stuff has come in the mail so that we can finish all of our wiring. I'm very excited. That includes another dimmer switch, which is working. Our solar wires came in. That means I can put a hole in the roof, pull the wires through, and then I'll be able to seal the whole ceiling up because we'll never need in there again. Fingers crossed. These little three-way wire splice things have been so handy and like actually totally saved my ass on this wiring problem because I was able to just disconnect some lines and reconnect them. And so I'm gonna keep using these everywhere I have a three-way joint because that's just hard to make. But I do want to reduce the amount of moving parts, if you will, potential loose connections in this wiring. So I'm gonna go replace every spot where there's just two wires coming together in one of these, and I'm gonna replace that with a butt connector, crimped, and then hit it with the heat gun.
I really, really, really don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Talk about me like you know me. I don't care. You don't know a thing about me. I really don't care.
That's not what this stuff is designed for, but I'll be damned if it's not a great secondary use for it, for sure. But check out how tidy the wiring is now. So no more big rat's nest of cables. Also, I've discovered that a rolling chair in the van is like back saving. There is one last thing to do before we can put this ceiling up. And that is to run our solar wires from the roof down here to the wiring bay in the back. I don't have plans to put solar on till several steps down the road, but once I put this ceiling up, it'll be really difficult for me to get in here and put another hole through. So I've got everything I need, and we're just gonna go ahead and route those cables and cap them off for our later usage. I got a bunch of these little rubber grommets, like all kinds of different sizes, 100 pieces or something. And so yeah, I'm gonna drill this out to 5/8, see if I can get this grommet to fit in there. These should self-tap. They did. Look at that. That's the last hole in the roof, guys. Hell yeah, knocked it all out. Now, obviously the solar panels are gonna go in front of this, but the wires are coming out the back, and I made the mistake in the RV of flipping this the other way around for the convenience of the wiring, but look at it. It's aerodynamic. I'm trying to keep moisture out of this. You don't want this facing the wind and rain and stuff like that. You want it facing behind you, so I'll pull the wires around as needed. That's why I have 25 feet of excess cable wound up in there now. F***ing up my beautiful wiring job. What is this? Okay. Awesome. Tighten it up for now, and I've got some caps for these as well. Cap. And cap. Cool. It's getting late, but I've still got some energy, so I'm gonna start pushing forward with the ceiling, and I got it most of the way to where I would need it to be to finish everything, but I am realizing that I do need some way to bring the ceiling all the way back to here. So I have to pull this wiring down, which is fine, and get some sort of small fairing strip across the back, and then I'll be able to go all the way to the front, and I've got a plan for how this meets up with the cab at the headliner up there. But that will require a trip to the hardware store, so we'll take care of that part tomorrow. You guys got to hear about this tool score I got today. I went to the Habitat for Humanity Restore, which is like a secondhand store for like furniture and building materials, and I found this Rockwell calls it a Blade Runner. It's like a jigsaw table. There's a jigsaw mounted under it. They didn't know what it was. They thought it was broken. They're like, there's no blade on it. And I looked down in the throat plate and I was like, that's a damn jigsaw slot. And so I bought it. It was 20 bucks. And I got it back and it was rattling. And I found there's a little drawer in the front full of jigsaw blades, brand new ones. This thing is so dope. It's like, I hate bandsaws. This is way easier than bandsaw. It's better than a scroll saw. I was just playing with it. You can get really nice curve cuts. There's like such a score. I'm gonna use the shit out of it. And I've just clamped up a little fence because I need to rip something down to 3/4 of an inch, and I'm not doing it on the table saw. It's a good way to lose a finger. Well, with all of our wiring done and the ceiling fully insulated, it's time to call it for this video. I'm rolling straight into the next project, but you're gonna have to wait a week for that. Be sure to get subscribed if you want to see it. We're going to be putting the ceiling in, the walls, the window boxes. This thing is going to be completely boxed out and ready for furniture making. By the way, if you have any questions about the products, any questions about how we did the build, ask in the comments about it. Also, go to our website if you want to look at any of the products, tools, what we used for this build. We've got it all linked up there, and it links straight to Amazon or wherever we got them. And if you buy those products through our website, then it supports this project. Thanks everybody. It's almost camping time.